Hello followers and welcome back to my Minecraft tutorial. This is episode 62 and in today's episode we're going to be looking at the happy block. Yes, today we're taking a look at the basics of droppers and what they can do and how they can be used in vanilla survival. So before we get into that though, I just want to show you the auto farm that we built a couple of episodes back. Let's harvest this guy. Pretty cool, eh? For some reason that particular one got trampled, I'm not entirely sure why. Aside from that, as you can see here is the dropper's cousin, the dispenser. Now the dispenser is the shocked face. The shocked block, we'll call it. The shocked block. The old dispenser got electrocuted, unfortunately now he's a shocked block. But we are going to be looking at his cousin, the happy block, today. And the dropper is a little bit different from the dispenser, but it does look quite similar in some ways. Nice. That's harvesting. Tree farm from last episode. Managed to solve those issues that we had, as I explained at the end of last video. And we're doing pretty good now. So yes, let's take a look at the dropper. And we're going to be looking at the basics of droppers and how they can be used. I have a little demo set up in the test area. To explain a bit more about this. So let's head on down here. This is all the hopper stuff we looked at a couple of episodes ago. So here is the dropper, the happy block. As you can see, it's got a little smiley face on it. I guess the first thing we should do is craft one of these guys, right? I don't think I have enough cobble to craft one of these guys. You need 7 cobble, I think. Yeah, you need 7 cobble. So let's craft up a dropper. So just go into your crafting bench. You need 1 piece of stone around the edge to make this sort of N shape, I guess you could call it. Then a bit of redstone in the bottom, nothing in the middle, and you will get a dropper. There it is. That's what the dropper looks like. Nice little happy block there. The dropper can be placed in multiple directions, as with the dispenser, and it can also be placed upwards and also downwards. Just so you know, this used to be really expensive. You used to need a hopper to craft this, but they changed the crafting recipe, thank God, so we don't have to require all those ingredients to make one of these things anymore. So the dropper it looks like the dispenser, and in many ways it acts like the dispenser, but it has a few special properties which makes it very useful from the dispenser. So the first thing is a dispenser will shoot projectiles as entities, not as items. So things like arrows, snowballs, eggs, TNT, it will use flint and steel to light things, those kind of things. There will be no doubt a list on the wiki. I will link the dispenser and dropper pages in the description where you can actually check out what the dispenser can fire. The dropper drops that item as the name suggests. So here we have an arrow. It drops the arrow as an item. Whereas if we were using a dispenser here, then it would shoot the arrow out, and that could potentially hit a mob or me or whatever, but we are perfectly safe with the dropper. So that is one unique feature of the dropper, and this particular feature makes it useful for item sorting systems, from stuff like mob traps if you want to sort arrows so they don't fire and go everywhere. This is a practical use of that. The dropper also has the unique ability that if powered, and there is a storage block in front of it, so that's a chest, anything like that, a dispenser, another dropper, whatever, and you power it, it will actually send that item into the chest, whereas if I had a dispenser back here, it would get stuck somewhere in between. In this particular example, if I keep powering it, I'm going to get a bunch of coal going there. So this is a really good use of the dropper. Kind of links in with this one where you could sort items effectively. Very, very useful, very simple to do a simple item sorter. And we'll probably look at that fairly soon when we build a mob tower. I'll talk about an auto sorting system. And also you can make these things called dropper pipes. Now we looked very vaguely at hopper pipes when we talked about how the hopper can go in different directions, and I told you that the hopper can go in any direction as long as it's sideways or down, and I told you that we couldn't send it up, we needed a dropper for that, and this is how the dropper pipe works. So in here I have cobblestone, and what's going to happen is I'm going to flick this lever and the torches are all going to invert. This is a stacked NOT gate, and eventually it's going to reach the top and it's going to shoot out. So we fire it again. There you go. Cobble lands out. Fire it again. There we go. Now, it's vitally important to know when dealing with these things that there must be one item in every slot for this to happen every time. If it doesn't, then it doesn't always work. In my testing, I found that cobble was getting stuck in these droppers right here because sometimes it was randomly choosing empty slots and obviously nothing would get taken. So you always want to make sure that each slot is filled. And now that's really easily achievable in a setup like that. But if you had, for example, a sorting system, you would want most of the items to not remain in the dropper. And you can use a hopper on top to keep refilling the dropper. And we'll talk about that more later because that's more advanced usage of this. But this is the way you can send items vertically in the game now. This is a pretty cheap pipe actually. You can send items downwards and across and all directions using this particular setup. But honestly, I think hoppers are more useful because they are generally faster unless you hook up a specialist clock to it, which makes it go faster. It very much depends what you want to do. If I was going to use pipes over long distances, I would definitely go with the dropper. But if it was a short distance, I would probably use the hopper. And I would purely use the dropper over long distances because it's cheaper. It's just cobblestone, which, hey, everybody has a ton of that, right? And redstone, which everybody also has a ton of. So it's not like it's complicated to craft or anything. So that is how the dropper pipes work. Because each time it inverts, then a pulse is sent to the dropper, and it sends it up, and it shoots it out in that tower formation. Finally, another use of the dropper is, in this case, I have a dropper here, and it's hooked up to a comparator, which then is hooked up to a repeater just to buff up the signal. Then it goes back around to the dropper. And what this does is when I put items in here, watch what happens. We've got a clock going. And what is that clock doing? It's powering the dropper, which will then send items into chests. So this is a very useful way if you want to send items vertically and you've got a hopper at the side. So say your mob trap, for example, could be right here. Then you would just hook up a dropper and then a chest if you wanted it to go up higher. Of course, if you wanted it down lower, you could just stick a chest underneath the hopper and it will work just fine. So as you can see, all 39 redstone have gone. This is very fast. I believe that this happens, it is, I believe, once every 2.5 seconds, I think. Well, it's faster than that, most certainly. It's every time an item goes in to the dropper, as we know, the comparator will see that it's got an item in there and it will flow back round. This is why we need the repeater here to buff the signal back up, pulsing to make the item in the dropper go back up to the chest. So that is the final use of the dropper, and we're going to be using something similar to this today, but we are not going to be using a comparator to do that. We are going to be using a rapid pulsar type of redstone clock. So these are the main uses of the dropper. It's honestly not that hard to understand the dropper. It's a pretty simple block in what it does and how it works. So they're the main uses for it. We can use these properties in more advanced things, but we're going to stick to the basics today of using the dropper. We will come back to it most certainly in the future when we work on more advanced projects. So for today's practical use of the dropper, we are going to be making an auto charcoal smelting station. And this kind of links in with the tree farm project, which we did last episode, which I was talking about near the end of the episode. And this, believe me, is an incredibly simple device to build. I can imagine that even somebody with no redstone knowledge could build this because, heck, this is all it needs. It needs a dropper, a furnace, 5 pieces of redstone, a redstone torch, a hopper, and you need 5 building blocks for it, and that is literally it. There is no more to it than that. Now, I do want to get some more building blocks, but this pick is about finished, so I don't want to break that. So let's just make a quick stone pick for now. It'll do the job while Block Breaker is not able to mine any blocks, unfortunately, because the blocks will break it if we're not careful. All I need is just a couple of building blocks, just to show this off. I do have a bunch of cobble back at my main base, but that's a long way to go just to get some cobble when I have a ton of it around me, so it's not a huge problem. That'll do. Very, very simple. I prepared all the stuff off camera here. And by the way, if you want to download this world, it will be available in the description, so you can actually play around with the dropper. The test setup over there will be available for you to check out and play around with more. And also the smelting station will be available too. So I'm thinking that this smelting station needs to go kind of near the entrance, but kind of tucked out of the way. So I'm thinking right here. And let's get our equipment out of the chest. And this design is actually on the Minecraft wiki. So if you were confused about how things actually work, then you can check out there. So you want to place a dropper upwards. So to do that, just jump and right click. You want to put a hopper into the side. Remember, shift and right click into the side of the hopper. You want to put the furnace on top, like so. You want to put a hopper on the side so that it feeds back in. And you also want to put a hopper on top. And this is where you're going to put your wood in to be automatically smelted. And now we need to hook up the redstone. Very, very simple stuff. You need your 5 building blocks arranged in this pattern. Whoops, like that. And now we are going to need our redstone torch, and we are now going to hook up the wire in here. You need this, and then you hook this up. As you can see, it's a rapid pulsar, and it will pulse off every now and again, but then it will pulse on again. And this is very useful. One of the few uses that the rapid pulsar actually has in the game is in this particular setup, and that is it. There's not a whole lot more to talk about as regards how to set that up. So now then, let's actually try this thing out. It's going to need some fuel to get started, so we're going to do that, and I'm going to get a stack of my oak wood, and you load the oak wood into the top. And by the way, if you wanted more storage space in the hopper, you could just stick a chest above it, and then you could store way more wood. And as you can see, the wood is actually going to flow directly into the top of the furnace. The rapid pulsar won't do anything because it's not affecting this area. It's only affecting this dropper here. So now this is going to get filled up completely with wood, and you put your fuel in here, and when the charcoal is cooked, it's going to go into this hopper, and then it's going to go into this dropper, which the rapid pulsar then turns on, which then feeds it back into this hopper, and voila, it goes back into the furnace. So we just need to put 1 bit of coal in there, and that should do the job, because that's going to smelt up 8 charcoal. And we can watch how this works. So the charcoal will get instantly taken. You've seen it there. It went through the hopper and into this dropper. And when the rapid pulsar fires again, you will see it going into the hopper. And then it will become, it will go straight into the furnace to be used as the next load of fuel. And you can continually use this. You could just keep loading it up with wood whenever you need charcoal. And you can actually make it pretty efficiently this way. If you wanted to manually reset this, all you have to do is break the torch, and it will work just fine. Now, you could, I think, use a comparator for it, but I think this is a cheaper way of doing it, because you don't need access to nether quartz. If you're playing on a different world to me and don't have access to the nether yet, this is more useful. Let's just redo this. As you can see, it's all being pushed now up there, and then it flows into here. And this is the automatic charcoal smelting station. You could just load up wood in here and leave it and go off and do whatever you want to do. Providing this chunk is loaded, this will operate. So I could be anywhere in my area. I could be over at my cottage. I could be harvesting the farms. I could be doing anything in this area, and this thing will just do its thing, and I can get an infinite supply of charcoal whatever I want. And obviously when the charcoal gets completely full up in here, I could take out the extras from the hopper if I so desire. Plus you're going to have the dropper and this item hopper here, so in total you're going to have what, 5, 10, you're going to have 19 slots available, so 19 stacks of charcoal can actually be fully fitted in here. And if you didn't go with the chest option, then you're probably going to have to come back and refill it before it gets full anyway. So this thing will just turn off when it gets full. There we go. Pretty cool stuff. and you can see the charcoal is filling up nicely there. So that is everything that I wanted to show you on the chopper. Just a very basic sort of demo there. Pretty cool stuff, I think, all round. And off camera, I will probably just clean this area up a little bit and put some fences around it and stuff like that, just to make it look that little bit cleaner and kind of enclose it in from the monsters. Next episode, we are going to be taking a look at the dropper's cousin in more detail, the dispenser. And we're also going to be taking a look at tripwire, I think. It's either going to be that, or we're going to be looking at automating the remainder of these farms. It will either be automating the farms or tripwire, and then whichever one we don't end up doing, next episode we will do the episode after. And then after that, I think we're pretty much wrapped up with redstone. To be honest, I think I've covered all the components that I need to at this stage. Obviously we will come back to redstone throughout this series. Sorry, I'm just had to stop for a minute there, but we're good to go now. We'll come back to redstone throughout the series when we look at different mob traps and all sorts of stuff like that. We will come back to redstone, but I will have covered the key components that I want to kind of in their own specific episodes. So that's going to be just about it from me today, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial on the dropper. I hope that you have found it useful and informative. And as I say, if you want to play around with this stuff, the world download will be in the description, so you can play around with that yourself. Tree farm is growing extremely well. I'm very happy with it. This thing is going to make a nice addition to the world. It's a pretty cool little device. So until next time, guys, see you later, and have a good day.